you have to be able to withdraw yourself. You don't have a business if you stop working and you stop earning money. That's not a business. That's you providing a service and you're servicing clients.
Yeah.
There's 86,400 seconds in a day. And if you've got no money as a startup, no time, because you're doing everything yourself, you're wearing all the hats, you need to look at what you do have. And that's the 86,400 seconds in a day or whatever it is. So that then becomes how you distribute your time. And what you need to do, you get a spreadsheet, put every hour of the day on there. I'm a big spreadsheet person.
Yeah, love it.
Do a time audit and look at your business and see where you are spending the most time.
Yeah, we'll go then, baby girl, we'll go then. They're about to see us shine, 'cause we'll go then. They can't ever break us down, 'cause we'll go then. They're about to see us glow.
Hey guys, just before we head into the episode, if you have been enjoying the podcast, please make sure you subscribe on whatever platform you're using, whether you're using Spotify, Apple, YouTube, whatever it is that you're using. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button. It really does help us out a lot. It obviously means more people will be able to see and trust our content. It also means that you'll get that content every week. And, you know, we really do appreciate all the support, all the shares, all the likes, all the comments, all the messages that we get. It does help us and spurs us on to keep providing more value and deliver, you know, quality content to you guys. So a massive thank you. Jenna, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
We obviously shot here in Clovelly. It's the Melbourne in me again, Clovelly. Coogee. With Jade last time and loved that episode, and that's why we're back here. It was a great setting, but you have recently gone into business with Jade, which is really exciting.
Big Uppetite.
Very cool. Where's that name derived from?
We are hungry for growth and we like Big Uppetite. It's like an upward trajectory, upward trending.
Yeah.
It's something that we just felt was different, quirky and catchy and challenged the norm. And that is exactly what we're here to do. It's a bold statement. We know it's spelled incorrectly. We're here to break a mold.
Yeah. Amazing. I love it. I love it. I think it's smart, in terms of brand name. I love it. But we're here to talk about yourself and have a conversation about the skills that you bring to the table. I'd love for you to give a little bit of a background about yourself. How'd you get into business? How'd you get into marketing? And then we can go from there.
Big story. I'll give you the short version of it. So I did a commerce degree after uni. I studied business and commerce. I majored in marketing. I wasn't the best in school. I was quite naughty. But I was really good at business and English and a couple of other things in that space. So naughty but nerdy, I would say, actually.
That sounds exactly like me.
Yeah, so like rebelled real hard but then excelled in business and commerce. So I went to uni, did that. I started selling pest control, hygiene services. I worked for a global facility services company. I have a very strong, my dad is very strong in sales. I grew up listening to sales calls in the car all the time, going to work with my dad as a kid. Sometimes I just loved it. So I was in this sales role, selling pest control in warehouses, like walking around, counting how many rat stations places needed. And I kind of knew that wasn't obviously what I wanted to be doing. And I wanted to get into marketing, having graduated with a marketing degree. Being in sales, it's obviously two very different positions in a company. Both go hand in hand though. I got into health and wellness. I got into the pharmaceutical company. When I finished studying, I was already in the habit of studying and going to uni. I worked full-time, went to uni full-time at night. So I was like, I'm just going to keep learning. So I just enrolled in my Cert 3 and 4, did my Cert 3 and 4 in fitness, and really sort of used that as a way to get into the wellness industry, going into pharmaceuticals. I worked for an FMCG company here in Sydney, and I worked on weight loss, health and wellness brands. And we at the time had the lowest sugar weight loss shake on the market. We were rivaling Optifast and brands like that. And I remember saying, what if we gave these people like a PDF on how to work out and how to keep the weight off, and maybe we could create a customer for life, converting them onto the more expensive health and wellness vitamins, So started creating health and fitness PDFs that accompanied weight loss shakes, and I just loved helping people so much that I was then like, I need to move into the fitness industry. So started consulting, started my own business. I sort of grew quite quickly because I had a lot of friends in this space and fit right into the fitness industry, but I could help them in a way that they couldn't help each other, which was with marketing and business. So started my own company. It was Jenna Davies Marketing, and launched the fitness business strategy, and helped hundreds of trainers grow their business. And then Jade and I met and had a pivotal conversation and decided to join forces. And now we're working across brands, businesses, clients in the health and wellness space, e-commerce and online. So it's definitely just been a case of running with whatever feels good and where I want to go. And all of a sudden, here we are.
It sounds like entrepreneurship, right? It's like everybody's story is the same.
Yeah.
Just do it and figure it out along the way.
Exactly.
Awesome. So I'd love to dive into, because you're obviously highly skilled and your knowledge is in marketing and sales. I'd love for you to, unpack what you think the current landscape is, in terms of marketing as a whole, like what's working, across social media, across ads, just in general, like how are you seeing it playing out at the moment?
It's definitely a tricky question to answer succinctly, and I think it depends on the business and your offer. It depends on your offer. Who are you selling to? And the price. The price point makes a big difference as well. We have like high ticket coaching services, high ticket items. Mostly service-based businesses are high ticket. But then you've got your e-commerce stores, your lower end products and guidebooks, PDFs, or clothing, supplements. So it's like it depends on what you're selling and who you're selling to. But I think the most important thing is that people are diversifying. You don't have a business if you just have an Instagram account. You know what I mean? Like you either have a business or where you're operating across different platforms. You're present. You own your database. Like if Instagram fell over tomorrow and your account was hacked, do you have a business? And I think what is working, whether it's a high ticket or low ticket item, is capturing data, building a community, capturing data, and really focusing on those high converting platforms, which really is going to actually be your website, your owned media, your owned content, your email list, your website, your data that you can read and analyze, and then remarket to.
So when you say like own your database, you're talking about like examples like email lists and obviously, is there any other forms that you're seeing now outside of it, just email lists?
Communities, Facebook communities are still doing really well. Obviously, that's housed on the Facebook platform, but depending on what you build your site on, like client portals is something that's huge. We see membership sites and subscription sites taking the wave in terms of online revenue, passive income. That's what everyone wants. And I don't think people understand that the power of a membership community, that you can either upsell to or just have that recurring revenue. So whilst there is an email list, and obviously like you can have a following of 100,000, but you don't know who they are and you can't actually find them. So they have to be on your page, they have to be engaged with you to buy from you, but you can't go to them and be like, hey, this is what we've got for you right now and this is how we can make it work. And so you really want to have like a community of engaged people that are waiting for your next drop, for whatever that could be. And in order to do so, you want to be nurturing them. You want to be give, ask, give, ask to the business. And ways that you can do that is obviously email marketing, membership sites, places where you can communicate to them, you can find them, you can see how they're engaging and interacting with your content. Obviously, social media has analytics, but the reality is there's a lot of people there who are just having a look.
I think as well, like, we were talking about this before around like TikTok and how we, even just with our business, it was like, okay, well, we were doing really well and we fell off a cliff. Now we were trying to identify what that was, but an own database, like an email list, like there's not an algorithm there. You know what I mean? Like it's not like they can pull the rug out underneath you and all of a sudden change your, the people that see your emails. Like it's the real. I mean, there is spam, but it's obviously a totally different. But I think like your ability to obviously take the attention that you might be getting from say these different accounts and then converting them into that that
A
database
member
that
or
you're
a
talking
client.
and being direct with them, right?
Yeah, so I think I want to preface or go back and talk about owned media. Anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's owned as in you own it. So in digital marketing, we have the trifecta: owned, earned, and paid. Okay, and whether you're a startup or an existing business, I always like to split your investment, whether it's finances, time, money, across the three. And depending on what you're selling, if it's a high value item that takes multiple touch points to convert, or if you're selling clothing on impulse and desire, and a great looking ad, the way that you distribute your time and money across owned, earned, and paid media would be different. But for anyone who doesn't know, owned media is like your website. It's your content. It's your social media platforms. It's you, your brand. It's what you put out. It's what you say. It's your podcast. It's content marketing, and your website, like I said. Earned media is worth its weight in gold. Like once you have nailed your owned media, your various platforms, I believe what works best is earned media. And the statistics say, 93% of people trust word of mouth before they trust brand advertising. People are X times more likely to buy something if they've been referred to it by a friend. So your earned media is like reviews, testimonials, reshares, and you would know this. And I think there's a huge emphasis, whether you have an e-commerce store and you're selling clothes, or whether you have a high ticket consulting service, earned media builds trust. And if you don't have an audience and you're spending money trying to acquire an audience that's coming to your site, people want to see proof of concept. So whether you're using plugins for product reviews or you're marketing on social media with client reshares and testimonials, I think that's should be a huge focus. Every business needs a strategy for farming earned media. And then there's paid. And it's so interesting. I find I know a lot of people have great ideas. Like you said, I could give you 5 business ideas and you'd cry over which one to do first or how overwhelming that is. And I see a lot of people who have a platform or exit a business or exit a career, and they want to do something, and maybe they got capital and they start something and they're like, oh, we'll just put money into paid ads. And it's like, if that's where you go first, again, it depends on what you sell, but your owned and your earned media is not ready and up there. You can be paying money to send traffic somewhere, but your conversions could be low because your site sucks or the proof of concept's not there, So in terms of what works, I definitely think results sell in any business. Product reviews. If you have a product review or a product video on your website, I think it's like increases conversions 144% on the page. So I think in terms of what works, being on social media, do you have an Instagram account or do you have a business? You want to be focusing on all of these 3 things.
So if somebody were to come in and let's say they're starting a brand tomorrow, because obviously, and this is again something that I'm really excited to talk to you about, but because you've obviously worked with companies that have done this, but I think you've done it yourself, which is probably the most important, is when you are in a startup, and especially even if we talk about being a sole trader, an individual, like someone, the sole operator of the business, what's the process? Like, because it's limited resources, right? And you mentioned this, it's like distributing, and how you distribute inevitably dictates the result. If I'm someone, and let's just use me as a test dummy, if I'm the person who I've just started my business and I go, okay, what should I do now in terms of, the 3 different sources of media that we can have? Where do I spend my time and my resources?
Great question. So to go from that solopreneur to a scalable business, you have to be able to withdraw yourself. You don't have a business if you stop working and you stop earning money. That's not a business. That's you providing a service and you're servicing clients. You literally have 50 bosses.
It's a job with twice the pressure.
It's a job. And so there's 86,400 seconds in a day. And if you've got no money as a startup, no time, because you're doing everything yourself, you're wearing all the hats, you need to look at what you do have. And that's the 86,400 seconds in a day or whatever it is. So that then becomes how you distribute your time. And what you need to do, it sounds so simple, but you get a spreadsheet, put every hour of the day on there. I'm a big spreadsheet person.
Yeah, I love it.
Whatever you do, every hour of the day on there. And for 7 days, do a time audit. and look at your business and see where you are spending the most time. Because before you can even think about creating content, because this is what every sole trader comes to me and says, I don't have time. Okay, well, do you want a digital business or not? You're telling me you want a digital business, passive income online, but you don't even have time to create content. So you're never gonna change. You're always gonna be servicing your clients. So you need to look at your time and you need to assess what you can outsource, and you need to invest some sort of money to a degree. Outsource the things that don't need to be done by you. When you have a business, you are the visionary. You will drive the scalability and the growth because you're the only one that is hungry for your business success like you are. So you need to be able to look at the business with passion and a future vision, and you need to be able to get other people to work on some of the things that you shouldn't be doing. Emails, client programs, content scheduling, content creation, like what can you outsource, email scheduling, things like that, so that you can then come back to looking at creating strategies for owned and earned. And it sounds more complex than it is when someone says strategies for owned and earned, but call your best clients and ask them, can you send me XYZ? I just want to know how you're going with the program, service, product. Email them and say, can you send me a photo of you in my hoodie? Like whatever it is, it's not that complicated. You know, if you spent some time going, okay, how can I improve the performance of my site where we make money? And that's where your time should be best spent. So my advice is to go from that sole trader to having a team. You need to delegate. You cannot grow, and this is my biggest weakness in some ways. When you're a sole trader, you're obsessed with your business, you're scared and you're passionate and you think no one can do it as good as you. And maybe that's true, but like neither can you if you're stuck doing everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. It's like at the end of the day, like you said, there's only a certain amount of time in the day.
Yeah.
And once you start to realize that, you can always up your prices, but you always just keep running into the same roadblock, which is there's only X amount of time in the day. So I think like I've always thought about it like I think the first step potentially is always getting someone who can replace the producing the product.
Yeah.
Right. So, like again, especially in a service, right? If you're producing that service, like the thing that takes up the most time for you is that.
Yes.
Now, if you don't like, and this is, it's not that that's always the case, because like there are opportunities where I think there's a difference between, say, like working with a contractor and bringing in an employee. So the employee should always be the person who can, or the goal, you might bring in a contractor, but the goal is to get them to an employee. Yeah. Because you can outsource marketing and like to an agency or something like that, and it can integrate really nicely.
Big Uppetite.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I mean, right? So you can integrate really nice there and get that kind of solution into your business. But then it's like the number one thing that's always going to take up the most of your time in a service is delivering the product. So like, I guess like I've always thought like getting someone in to take some of that time off you, so that you can actually even just invest into, say, thinking time. Like I find that people that I've worked with in the past, in, say, the consulting space, is like they don't have time to think. Yeah. Like, and you try to give them the thoughts, but even for them to comprehend them and actually take them and run, they don't have enough time to think about the execution. Yes. And then therefore they make mistakes. So that's just something that I've always found.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you say that. My mind has two sort of thoughts on that, and it's like stillness is the key. It's a book by Ryan Holiday, and they talk about solitude being the university for creativity. And I went away recently and took a break, and I had ideas, solutions to problems, ideas for growth that I wouldn't have even been able to hear when I was so busy and stressed. And when you're working yourself 60 hours a week into the ground, wearing all the hats, you stop yourself from actually seeing the bigger picture, which hinders growth in itself, but it's like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? How am I supposed to make time for a break if I don't have time to take a break? And the reality is, and people don't like hearing this, everyone is replaceable. You're not the only person who can do what you do. You think you are. Maybe to the people that you know, find someone who can do what you do as close as you can, or teach them. You know, like you get people leave. Sorry, it's true. Everyone is going to go on their own journey, but you need to invest time into teaching someone else how to deliver the service. Like you said, if you have a service-based business, even if you're creating products that you love, like let's say you have a line of clothing, you have that vision. You need to share that. You need to share your vision with people so that they can follow on, you know, and I've read this book and they sort of say, or the book says, it's the 7 people around you that are most likely to have, share and see your vision if you communicate with them often enough. And I think that the reality is to go from sole trader to business, you need to be able to leave and your business needs to run. So
it's definitely a skill set thing, right? Like I know for me when I was going through that, it's kind of like what you were saying before, like you don't often like. So when you're a sole trader, that I can say the hardest thing is understanding how to allocate time properly. And you often focus, you're such a technician,
yes,
right? That you're just like, okay, I know how to do the things, right? But then what we don't, and I know this is a mistake that I made and I see it all the time, is like hiring is the most important thing that you can do in your business.
And scary.
But when you start off and you have to make your first hire, you just don't understand what goes into that. You don't understand what the right person looks like, how to find them, whether they're lying to you and just kind of, you know, blowing smoke, you know, like, so it's really hard. And you also don't allocate enough time to it, and then
to training and development and
training,
onboarding.
Development.
And you wonder why they leave or suck.
You pick the first or the second or the third person that comes in because
you're desperate.
I just want to grow.
I need help.
Yeah, and you just do that, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like you realize that that will actually cost you much more time, if that makes sense. And I think like even me now, like I'm making so many, like way less mistakes than what I did when I was first growing, and there's much less pain involved because I'm just understanding, first of all, when to hire, but second of all, just getting that right person in and spending time, and understanding that it might take 3 months to get them to a point. Like I hired my partner, right, who's an absolute monster in marketing. Like she's amazing, but my expectation was she'll come in and it'll just be, it'll just happen. It doesn't work that way.
It has to learn your business.
It has to learn the business. Yeah. And it's like
your market, your clients.
Exactly. And it's like, I think there's a massive underestimation when it comes to that part of like going from that solopreneur to you just don't have that skill set. You're not aware, management is such an emotional thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's managing people. And I think just coming back to what you were saying in terms of you don't know where to start when making a hire, I always recommend starting with your client community. Start with someone who knows your business. Like you said, your partner can come in. You could pick the greatest marketer from Afterpay, but they could walk into your business and need a month just to get to know it. So if you've got a service and someone's gone through it, that's probably a really great place to start. And then also, if you've done that time audit and you can see where you're spending your time, you can then see the tasks that you need to brief out. Google a 4 R's document. It's called roles, responsibilities, requirements, and remuneration or something like that. And work out what tasks you need this person to do. Copy job descriptions on Seek, read, research, get a better understanding of what that's worth. And now you've got your market, you've got your audience list, you've got the roles that's required, and you can put the job ad out. You can start with your email list, you can start with your community. The reality is you pay to learn. And I like to say I either win or I learn. I've hired people that I was so desperate that I was like, all right, here you go. And I then wondered why a month later.
Why are you talking to me? Yeah. Why are you messaging me? You should know how to do that.
Yeah, a month later, I was like, I remember seeing something and I was like, that is freaking horrendous. Like, and I'm like, you know what? Always assume fault. Always take full ownership and responsibility. And I didn't teach you. I didn't show you. I didn't tell you what I was expecting. If you got a vision in your head, but you're running so fast that you're briefing things to your team and then you're wondering why it's not coming out that way, it's on you. So I did take, when we hired, even when Jade and I partnered and we bought in, we have a team of 6 now, we stopped making money for a month because we were like, we just needed to streamline processes and systems and make sure the girls are competent. And then in the third month, we doubled our revenue from the first month, which it's like, it's funny. Have you heard of the marshmallow study?
Nah.
It's about delayed gratification. There's this study done on kids where they give them a marshmallow, and the children who can wait actually are better off in the long term. And often in business, you say yes to everything, and especially as an entrepreneur, you just want to do what you can. You want to say yes to every opportunity. But if you said no for a month and invested in your people, the delayed gratification is growth. Any investment has risk and reward, and you need to realize you're investing time into these people, and the reward is they do it properly. There's less mistakes, there's less error. But you have to be able to take a break. You have to be able to step back. And often, yes, maybe there's money. Maybe you can't afford it. But I think it's also pride and ego. That you think you're the only one who can do what you can do. And you think that you can't stop and you can't train people. But that's your way of thinking that's hurting you.
It's Good to Great. Have you read that book?
Yeah,
Jim Collins. It's like building your business as like the genius with 1,000 helpers.
Yeah.
Like I built a business that way, and then I was always the bottleneck.
Yeah.
And then only once I stopped doing that did I actually build. Like now, I've got geniuses around me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it's crazy that there was no one else's fault in the early days than me, because I was building my business that way. And I think you said something before, and it kind of popped into my mind around like, like if we just talk about getting the right people on the bus, they start to do a lot of that driving for you, and being able to pick the right person. And, in my opinion, it's like your ability to get the right people, and not the people that are going to tell you what you want to hear, and not the people that are just going to come to the table and say yes, but actually get the people that will disagree with you.
Yeah.
And have the right skill set. And it's funny, like getting the, like just people in the right positions who are willing to do the driving for you. It's crazy to think about how different you think about your business.
Yeah.
Because if you go the other way and you're just hiring people and you want to be the centerpiece, and everything's built around you, that always becomes the ceiling.
Yeah.
And eventually you get to that point and you lose your time again, because you're having to just, you're still getting pulled in 1,000 different, directions at the same time. So
it's interesting. It's like, this might be triggering or touchy for some people to hear, but you don't have a business if you stop working and you stop earning money. You have a job and you have 50 or 100 bosses, and it's funny. Like, have you read The Linchpin? By I think Seth Godin.
Yeah.
And in some ways you want to be a linchpin if you have a job, but if your business is hinged on you, it should be your ability to lead, your ability to share, your ability to find people, get people on the bus that share your vision, see your vision, challenge each other. There's a book that I've been reading, Ready, Fire, Aim, and they talk about finding solutions to problems and new product development. Get people around a table, put it on a whiteboard, and get them speaking amongst themselves, because you end up like with this follow the crowd mentality. And if your business is built around you and your team are following your crowd, you're only going to ever be able to innovate as far as you're able to think. And the point of hiring people is to be able to leverage their ideas, their life knowledge, skill sets, background, expertise, and that is where innovation comes from. And what's the point in having people around you that become puppets? You want to be able to empower and lead, and you want to have people in there that have ideas and feel that they have a voice.
So true. And I think as well, like one of the biggest things that I've noticed, and I'd love to get your opinion on it as well, is when you hire, do you think about it from, like again, the good to great, first who then what type thing, like getting the right person? Like, so there's obviously, when you're looking to hire, you're bringing in someone who has a particular skill, but then they also need to have a particular attitude.
Yes.
So are you able to like talk on that, if that makes sense, and like how you think about that process?
I think it's a very interesting process to go through as a sole trader. There's attitude and aptitude. When you are a sole trader, that first hire, that person does grunt work. They're going to get their hands dirty. They do everything like you do. They basically are a generalist with a great attitude, can-do mentality. They work hard. They work long hours. It's a startup, essentially. And then you need to do that time audit again and go, where are we falling short? Where are we stuck? What can you actually do? What are you trying to do that's taking too much time? What can we outsource? Maybe you're still leveraging contractors. But I believe it's really important to hire on fit, because the truth is, when you are a sole trader, you're not doing 9 to 5 in an office. It's not that professional and streamlined. It's 7 p.m. Hey, I need this from you. It's 7 a.m. We've got to do this today. Something's come up. And you need someone who works well under pressure, works well under stress. I know this is going to be controversial, but almost like a friend, because they're working as hard as you, but it's your business. So why would they stay? Why would they stay if it's just a job? Right? So you want to reward them well. You want to incentivize them. I like a quarterly bonus for that person. That person you empower to become a leader, you know, and then they get to hire. And now that's what they want, because people who have jobs want a progression pathway. Not everyone wants their own business. If that was the case, everyone would have it. Most people have jobs and they're employed by people with businesses, right? So you want to empower that person to lead. You want to make them feel like they're going to have a team, they have a voice. You want to ask them, what help do you need? I'm going to hire that for you. And you want to make them feel that they're heard and seen. That next hire, more professional. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think like something you just said popped into my mind then. It's also like giving your best team members the biggest opportunities.
Yeah.
Like one thing that I think you can get trapped into as a sole trader is just trying to hand off the shit you don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
And taking all the big opportunities yourself. And one thing that I found is like, it's kind of relates back to the Genius with 1,000 Helpers thing, is like, if you give your best employees and best staff members the biggest opportunities, that's almost what feeds into the person who has the job, but they're almost like that entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And that's what they feed off. And then that's when they
feel valued.
Yeah. And I feel like I did that early on. It was like, oh, I don't want to do that. You take that.
Yeah.
And then you wonder why these people aren't invested into your business the way you are, or to the level that you want them to be. And they're kind of just going through the motions.
It's like hiring someone to do the grunt work while you're having all the fun. Eventually they're going to see that. And what's the book? Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. He's an old sales expert. And he basically says, do the hardest tasks first, you know, and at the end of the day, if you are the linchpin, if your business is built around you currently, you're the best person for the shit jobs. You're the best person for the hard clients. You might not want to do it, but you don't want your new employees having a hard time. Let them feel good. Let them get that instant gratification. Let them hit that dopamine response that they're doing good at their job. You take the hard clients that come to you for what you do best and get them a result. Because at the end of the day, if you can flip that client, you can show this person how to work on things that are hard and suck and essentially grow through that. But yeah, it's definitely, you want to empower them. You want them to like their job. You want them to be rewarded. And the hard tasks, the problem clients, the jobs you don't want to do are the ones that you have to do, and you should be doing them first.
So true. It's so true. I want to divert back to kind of brand building. Yeah. Because you obviously got a massive expertise in that area. And even like you've obviously in a startup as well.
Yes.
So, you know, if I'd love to get an insight into how you're planning to build Big Uppetite. And we can just use it as an example, because I guess the question is more around someone coming in who is about to start a brand.
Yeah.
What avenues are you looking at? Are you on TikTok? Are you more like, okay, we need a diversified strategy, but we're going to principalize it in a sense and try to create an association across all of these different channels that we have. You know, I'd love to kind of go deep on how you're looking at brand building right now, and we can kind of...
Building a brand requires trust. Building a brand requires trust of your audience, and one person can have a great experience and tell three people can become six people can become 12. It's geometric growth. So to build a brand today, Big Uppetite, our clients, we really start with the client. It really is all about who are you helping? And I think that it's something that is so overcomplicated. Like, yes, we can talk about owned and earned media for brand building, and we'll get there. We can talk about all the strategies for putting content out there, all the platforms that you should be on. But people forget, what's the big idea? You know, David Ogilvy from the 80s or 70s, genius in advertising. What's the big idea? And who are you helping? Who is your market? What is the problem that you are solving? What is the promise to them? What is your offer? And then look at your features and benefits. So in terms of building a brand, start with your people. And it's the good old, don't find people for your products, find products for your people. So building a brand requires the people that you have helped. So in terms of building Big Uppetite, Jade and I have pooled forces. I've got helped over 100 personal trainers and clients build their brand. So it's leveraging that earned media. I'm going to be farming. I'm going back to all my people that I've ever worked with. And if you're listening to this, I would love to hear from you as to how I helped you grow. Have I helped you create time freedom? Have I helped you create financial freedom? That's what I'm selling. What are you selling? You know, like, are you selling comfort? Are you selling results? What are you selling? And you want to find the people that you've worked with that can back this up. You want to get proof of concept, and you want to build a brand true to your people. You want to be client-centric. You want to know what their pain points are. You want to know what their goals are. And you want to prove that you've been able to provide that solution. And then that becomes content, which you then can use on your website, your social media platforms. You can add value. So in terms of coming back to brand building, to be known for what you want to be known for, which is helping your clients solve a problem, never forget that. That's why we're here, right? That's why we're here in business, to solve a problem. Every business has the market, the problem, and the solution. And then it forms the basis of your content. So you should be asking yourself every single time you post something, am I educating? Am I engaging? Am I entertaining? How am I solving the problem of my end user? If you're just posting content for the sake of posting content, you're not building a brand. You're building an audience maybe of people who are just tapping or viewing. They're campers. They're not actually clients or prospects. So in terms of brand building, you want to find who you are helping, know the problem, and create content that enriches their lives.
What do you think about, like, because like obviously like, and something that's helped me in just from a content perspective, like, is what I found is like obviously paying more attention to the psychology of the customer than necessarily the demographics and stuff like that. So when you go into like so you're talking about problems, solutions, but there's obviously a second layer, or I guess to that kind of, to those three different concepts, if that makes sense, which is like the psychology of the customer and how they, like I'll give you an example. So we had the founder of Frank Body on last week. And they were talking about, it's such a cool story, like back in the day, they thought about like, okay, so what's the experience when somebody uses our product? And they were like, cool, so they're coming to us because they want either better skin or they want this or they want that. And that's the solution that we provide. But then they were like, what's the experience when they actually use
pain points, friction points, desires?
Yeah, just how do they see the world, right?
Yeah.
And then they were like, well, it's such an intimate experience. And then they're like, this was kind of before sexuality was a thing, like on Instagram and stuff. It was 10 years ago. So like now it's a lot more normalized and like you can kind of show that side of you. But back then it was like, oh, are you doing that on Instagram? Like, what are you doing type thing? And then they were like, well, they wanted to kind of break that stigma. So then they thought like it's really an intimate experience because you're naked when you're doing it. And then that's when do you remember the shower thing?
Yes.
And it was like, everybody was like.
couples were doing it, the black scrub, I remember it.
And they were like, that was completely manufactured.
Yeah.
Like they did that themselves and started posting it on their Instagram with the hope that it would catch on.
Yes.
And it was all coming back to the psychology of the customer and the primary their customer was a female. Like that was 80% of their sales, and they were like, they tapped into that psychological side of it as well. So like there is that third layer.
Definitely. So market segmentation, demographic segmentation is dead. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
If you have a digital business, why would you segment your market on demographics, age, sex, location, income? Why?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any
So
sense.
true.
You need to look at psychographic segmentation, values, interests, beliefs, goals, desires, pain points. And there's different kinds of market segmentation. There's behavioral segmentation, how a user, really great for e-commerce if you have a product, how a user moves through your site, what are they clicking on, what pages are they leaving, what are they viewing. There's psychographic segmentation, which is so important because everything that humans do comes down to four things, four key needs: to be seen, to show up as you are, to be heard, to have a voice, to be loved, to connect, to belong. And this is why we do what we do. Everything comes down to that. Everything you do must be emotive driven.
Yeah.
It must spark some sort of emotion, create desire, or solve a problem. And it must relate to a pain point or a goal. So this is super important to understand about your market. Like Frank Body, whether you're selling coffee or whether you're selling a service, your client will always ask, why this, why you, and why now? So to get a client over the line, you need to understand the pain point. You need to be in your client's head. You don't coming back to the scrub, right? The pain point is that you have really dry skin in winter. Like you feel like you want glowing skin. You want to be more confident wearing singlets. You want and this is the sort of thing that you need to understand, because you need to also then understand what drives action now. What's the difference between a client saying to you, yep, I'm ready to go, sign in on the dotted line, or a client saying, I'm going to start next month?
It's like the emotive stuff is where you differ, right? So like there's plenty of other products that deliver the same solution as Frank Body, but what they did is they tapped into the psychology and tapped into, like the biggest thing, like what they said was like, okay, well, who owns the pharmaceutical companies? And they were like, it's old rich white guys, right? And it was like, do they necessarily care about sexualization and making that normal, and so that they break the stigma? It's like, no. So that's the biggest opportunity for differentiation, right?
Yeah.
So I think like
Disruption,
right? Being different, being seen. Like in order to be seen, you have to be different, because that's we
have ad blindness, visual fatigue. We've seen the same stuff so many times we don't even see it.
And we don't make decisions on what the best brand is. We make decisions on what the least disastrous option will be, right?
Or how we feel.
Yeah. And that is based on, we like to copy a little bit, you know what I mean? Like go
100%.
where the numbers are, and you need to be able to tap into the psychology of a particular segment of the market, right?
Yeah. And this is why when building a brand, it's so important to be obsessed with your customer. Who are you helping and why? Why are you helping them? What is their pain point? What is the cost of staying the same? If they never bought your product or service and they never experienced what you have to offer, what is the cost of staying the same? Then the opportunity cost. What is the cost of not changing? You know what I mean? And you really need to understand this, because what you are selling is largely indifferent from your competitors. Unless you have a complete, unique concept that is patented, I believe, this is an ego thing for people listening, what you are selling is largely indifferent. Your scrub, their scrub, that scrub, it's all the same. Features and benefits, they're all the same. The reason people will buy from you is why. And yeah, maybe some things are a little bit different, but a price-conscious consumer or a loyal consumer is not going to switch to a new brand, a challenger brand, the disruptor. So you really need to understand the psychology and the emotion. You want to be client obsessed. You want to be asking. You want to be going where the numbers are, looking at where these people are shopping. Think like they think. Speak the way they speak. Don't come out with a scrub and talk about the benefits of coconut shell and the features of how it's made. Come out with a scrub and talk about why it's going to make you feel amazing.
It's like the Apple versus Samsung debate, right? It's
100%.
like Apple's the best company, or like they probably created the best product in the world, because they don't, like Samsung has a better camera, Samsung has better features.
Have you seen the Apple ads?
Yeah.
I actually play the Apple ads in my fitness business strategy. Share, play, download, stream. It's all what you can do with the phone. It's not the retina display, the specs, the load time, like nobody knows, nobody cares, nobody even knows what 5G is. All I know is I want the best quality video on my Instagram story, and I want to download fast. Like these phones all do the same thing, but Apple is has monopolized it in some ways, market leader.
Yeah. Humans, it's like, it's such an identity thing. Like I wear Nikes over Adidas because I believe in the athlete's mindset, and they've been able to imprint that in me. And it's like, it's weird. Like if I wore Adidas and I wore Nike, there's like an essence to me wearing those, and I feel a different way, not consciously, but actually unconsciously. And it's the same with Apple. Like I laugh, and like even on like group calls, it's like, who's the weirdo with the Samsung? Like, you know what I mean? But it's like,
I picked up a Samsung the other day and I was like, I don't even know how to use this.
Yeah.
What is it? I don't even want to learn.
It's almost like you're less creative, you know what I mean? But it's like, I think that's what positioning and marketing is all about, is like you've got to understand that people make decisions based on their identity. There's a reason, like I think about the change in me just over the last 10 years and the different, like I never used to buy clothes.
Yeah.
Like, and now I'm like, it's because I'm on camera. I'm like, oh, you probably can't look that way. Or like, what, and it's...
I would have rolled through today in a hoodie, trust me.
Yeah, 100%, right? And it's like, but that's a big part of why I buy the certain things that I buy, you know? And I think...
You want to portray an image. You sell a lifestyle.
And that's like the psychological, part of marketing and branding, but also, how you position your products and how you can really make it stand out and be different.
Exactly. And not only is it the emotion, you want to sell the lifestyle, you want to sell the result. If you look at Nike ads, they have women running around lunch in the corporate setting. They put their shoes on, they go for a run. They have people running on tracks. Like Nike don't ever sell on features and benefits. You never see Flyknit technology, the cushioning of the sole, the way the laces are freaking designed. What you see is athletes. You see people who are trying. You see stories. There's even that, like, you see stories. You want to sell the lifestyle. What can people do as a result of using your product? But this is where it's really great to look at across industries, whether it's FMCG or like fast-moving consumer goods, beauty, cosmetics. They do it really well because they have marketers in there, and they're really great at selling a lifestyle. You look at a curcumin product. Let's say curcumin tablets went gangbusters in Chemist Warehouse. I used to work in pharmaceuticals and I know this. They didn't come out and go, this is like turmeric root. They were saying, joint-free, like pain-free joints, mobility, like you can be the active dad, silver surfer, and extend the longevity of your life if you're taking curcumin. You've got to look at the industries like Nike, Qantas, pharmaceuticals, where that they're making bank. 90% of Australians shopped in pharmacy in the last 12 months. You've got to go where the numbers are. And success leaves clues, and look at what they're selling and then bring that into your business. Like, I love looking at ads. I love watching ads.
Yeah,
I was in traffic the other day and I saw this Kennedy self-storage big billboard thing, and it was basically like, can't let go, and it was so simple. It's like, I can't remember the copy. I've got a photo of it, the words, but it's like, that hit my pain point. So many people have shit that they can't let go of. And they're not selling the square meterage. They're not selling the cost per month. And I think that a lot of the time in business, people want to shout from the rooftop what makes theirs better. But your client doesn't know.
It's not better. It's like, because it's not better. It's different, right? Try to find the white space. It's like, even just from the conversations I've had and the one we're having now, it's like Apple, find the white space. We're not really reinventing the wheel on anything. We're just finding different ways to sell it and position it, right? And it's the same with the Frank Body thing. It's like they didn't necessarily create a product that was so different. They just found the white space in the market that no one had looked at yet.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was going to ask, like, relevancy, right? Like, we're having this conversation. It's not, like now, like 10 years ago, points of different was like, eco-friendly, green technology, like sustainable, gender neutral, equality. Like these are all, now these aren't points of difference, right? They're actually minimum standards.
Mandatories, basically, yeah.
So your ability to find almost put yourself into the future and drag your business towards that point around some of these things. Because back, Frank Body probably took off because they found that white space.
I want to come back to that Frank Body as a case study because I know
it's a good case study.
I know it well.
Yeah.
And I know it well because I think, I don't know if the owner of Frank Body is associated with Bondi Protein. I don't know if they were, but it was around the same time that Bondi Protein was launched in pharmaceuticals, in Chemist Warehouse. And Bondi Protein went gangbusters. They were selling the lifestyle, obviously the Bondi lifestyle.
Yeah, so true.
And I remember Frank Body Scrub. And I remember couples' faces, white teeth, smiling, intimate moments. And it was emotion.
Yeah.
It was the emotion. It was like, it became a, let's do a Frank Body Scrub. I remember having a sleepover with my friends.
Yeah.
And like, we did face masks and scrubs and it was like, let's do that. Like, it's fun. And then all of a sudden we were sharing it. It's shareable. It's remarkable. It's contagious. And that is marketing. You want your brand to sell itself and you want to be like consumer centric, and it is intimate. And if you are sharing intimate moments and this, your product or service becomes part of it and they want to share it for you, your audience wants to share it for you, that is every marketer's dream. Someone said to me, I cut my finger and I said I needed a plaster. And my coach was like, what? What's that? A Band-Aid? And I was like, no, Band-Aid's the brand. And he's like, what do you mean? No, it's not. I'm like, yeah, it is. Look, Band-Aid, it's the brand. You're calling it that. It's actually whatever you call it, a plaster, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's like people say, do you have any Panadol? Like that's not what you're actually asking for. What you're asking for is paracetamol.
Yeah.
And it's like with Frank Body and the scrub, or with anyone trying to create a brand, coming back to brand building, you want to create a brand or a word that can be used where people are using that term to describe what you do instead of actually asking for what you do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. It's like the thing that is, you've probably crushed it as a brand when your brand name is associated with the actual global function of that thing.
For example, I need a new pair of Nikes.
Yeah.
Instead of sneakers.
Yeah,
what?
100%. Even like you could even go brand within a brand there in Jordans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like it's crazy.
Exactly. And I think that this is where sole traders who maybe don't have a marketing business background, because let's be honest, if you're a sole trader, you're a service provider.
Yeah, if you're
a lawyer, a PT, a dentist, or a doctor, that's your skill set. That's what you do. You don't know business and marketing. You know what you do. So that's fine. Admit what you don't know, right? That's the whole point of growth. You got to know what you don't know and then get help. But when you look at what the giants have done well, and if you need help, Google the best performing companies of today, Uber, even Airbnb, like what are they doing?
Own the category.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
So true.
And it's like, I think people are so caught up being like, I'm the only one who can provide this service. I mean, you're not, but you could be the one that disrupts that service category. It's always something that, it's quite funny when
fitness was big for this too, because
massive.
The whole evidence-based thing, that was like, remember when that was the thing that you had, like, it's like the people who did that, the people who did that first did really well, but then what the problem is everybody kind of went to that.
Calorie deficit.
And then that you're trying to say that that's your point of difference, and inevitably that's why the pack gets stuck. And that's in any industry. Like I have this feeling that if you're like the fifth generation into a particular concept and then that's what you're trying to sell, you will always be caught with the 80% that always struggle. And in fact, what we just talked about, you got to try to find that white noise.
It hurts my soul when I see above the fold, which is the first thing you see when you land on a website, anyone who doesn't know, and it says 12 weeks premium custom online coaching.
Yeah, it's not like
that's not what there's no emotion, there's nothing there about the client, there's nothing there about the outcome, and it's coming back to Nike, it's coming back to these big brands. Go and have a look. I always do this because I do this, but I Google ads. I look at Nike ads. I look at it's a simple statement. It's a USP. If you don't know what that is and you don't know, your clients don't know either. So it's important that you work that out. It's a key position. It's how can you help me? That's all you really need to be saying. And the evidence-based thing really set the coaches apart. And then a lot of the coaches who push evidence-based, it's like basically saying proven to get results. But they don't like saying that because it sounds marketing. It sounds like marketing puffery. But if you look at the greatest performing words on digital right now, it's proven, free, results, guaranteed. PTs don't like saying stuff like that because they have an ego. And this is where that industry is really stuck. So you're now pushing the same thing everyone else is saying, and you're saying things that only your peers can understand. Like if I needed to lose weight and I was the average 35-year-old worker who thinks the chicken Caesar wrap is healthy, what does evidence-based mean? Evidence? Is there a court of law here? You need to remember how far away you are now separating yourself from your client if they don't understand what you're saying.
Do you Yeah. Not sure. So are you seeing any of the white, what do you, is there anything, and you might not be able to answer this because I don't know if I would be straight off the bat, but is there any white space that you're seeing of like some of the next big opportunities, around positioning and maybe some relevant topics that
definitely.
You think are there?
I mean, having to think about it, obviously, I think the white space is always going to come back to the customer.
Yeah.
If you look at like history, trends, success leaves clues. If you look at the biggest names of our time in this fitness, health and wellness category, they're not people. They're not faces. You are aging. You could die. That's a bit dark, but anyway, their Move with us, Rachel Dillon, Sweat with Kayla dropped off, Sweat, Nike, Adidas. These are client-centric brands. The white noise is always going to come back to finding your niche and addressing their pain point. Fat loss transformations, sure. But what about the busy mum? Okay, fine. That's who you want to target, but you need to dive deeper. You want to understand, are you time poor? Do you want to work out at home?
I think that's what Equilution did so well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, when, there was obviously the whole movement towards science and that there was like a lot of rigidity in that. And then they probably, I feel like they found white space early on that people were just like, wow, I didn't know this existed.
I think like James Smith, Mark Carroll, they did this really well as well. Like they introduced the term calorie deficit, 2 simple words. It's not theirs. They didn't discover it. It's science. It's energy balance. And they really banged home about that. And I think this is where, as a personal brand versus a company, it then just comes down to likability. What differentiates, these two people? What sets them apart? It's not what you do, it's why you do it. It's how people can relate to you. It's relatability, it's relevance. It may be something as simple as the messaging. Some people just might not like you because you have brown hair, whatever. But a lot of brands like Weight Watchers, they've even rebranded just to that WW and Jenny Craig. They've simplified complex. Nothing complex trends. So if you're out there trying to be the smartest coach on the internet, my question to you is, do you want to be the smartest coach on the internet or do you want to make money? Nothing complex trends. Simplify complex. Use your client's language. In any industry, if you are selling hoodies, if you are selling activewear, if you are selling supplements, make sure your client understands the benefit. Because I've worked with clients who have been so passionate to tell me about the nootropic blend that they've put in their coffee. And they bang on about how their mushrooms are sourced from this place, which are manufactured at harvest versus the competitor. And I'm like, that's mad. That's so cool. There's the benefits, the bioavailability are way more prominent in your product than your competitors. But how does anyone know? No, it has been said that nobody knows what you know or how much you know until they know how much you care. So you need to come back to the benefit and the emotion. You need to come back to, I'm going to help you do more work. You're going to be more productive because of this nootropic blend harvested from the Amazon, wherever you got it. Who knows? Who cares? Nobody cares. And it's like when working with personal brands, I've actually, Jade's always like, Jenna, tone it down.
Yeah.
I'll get a client who comes to me and like, I don't have competitors yet. We don't have any competitors. I'm like, well, you will, or you already do. Like, you can't think like that. Or they're like, we've got the best formulation. It's the most expensive. We haven't sacrificed on price, and we're delivering it the same. We've line priced it with the market. Nobody cares. Like, you've got to come back to what your client cares about, which is the problem that they're trying to solve, and really cutting through with some simple messaging. Just do it. Just do it. Do what? Run track and field, be a cheerleader, lift weights in the gym. But people understand, just do it, because I have a goal and you have a goal and we both just want to get it done. See what I mean?
Yeah, and I think especially now with like social media and the power of it, like it talks, like, you mentioned James Smith, and like he's extremely relatable. And he went against, like, he found some white noise, because when he first started, it was like, again, he's still what you would say is like evidence-based.
100%.
But he's almost like, fuck evidence-based.
He's also not another coach.
Yeah, no, but he's kind of, but he kind of went, okay, well, I'm just going to sit over here while everyone else is over here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like it comes back to this kind of notion that, zig when people zag, and don't be afraid to do what's authentic to you. Like, and I feel like that's what traps a lot of people. And even like with the logical brain, it's like, no, I need to be talking about the individual benefits and this and that and this and that. But it's like, inevitably, like, I think you just need to create a brand that someone can connect with. Yeah. And again, you mentioned it, it's like the customer. Understand who that is, create a brand that they can connect with, that is not saying whatever everyone else over here is saying.
This is, I think, you've just hit the nail on the head. And like, I listened to a podcast from Gary Vee the other day. So whether or not you trust me as a marketer, please trust him. You sure can. And he talks about the fundamental thing that people miss. It's awareness. It's self-awareness of your personality. Like James Smith's simplified complex, why people choose him over other people. Why does he push so many buttons and still have such a fan base? He has a personality. People like him. And I think a lot of the time as a brand, it's about establishing warmth, trust, a personality, humor. You don't always have to be polished. And this is something that people, because of fear and imposter syndrome and self-doubt, will continue to hold themselves back from. And that is where someone will zig while you are zagging, because someone will just be the disruptor, because they're coming through and they're saying something and they're saying it loud and they're saying it proud. And really what's happening is you're getting caught up in trying to fit into the mold and prove a point and appeal to a customer. But as a person and as a brand, sometimes it's just about coming back to your personality. It's being likable. People have to like you. If you're a sole trader, if you're a personal brand, particularly in fitness, do not do what your competitors are doing, because they're already saying it. Like, how many blonde girls with six packs are there on the internet with posting booty shots? You're never going to break that mold, and I know this. It's like, you've got to be, I know that when I competed, not to go back too far in terms of fitness, but I never sold coaching, but I built this audience of people who were like, we love that you eat cookies and can't stick to your macros. And I'm like, my coach would be crying if he knew that I was building an audience. Like, but no coaches were doing that. All the other WBFF pros, all the other competitors were building Instagrams looking like robots with nutrition, a lot of them. And I was like, I'm eating cookies. Oops.
Yeah.
And people liked that,
But I think there's like method to the madness there, right? Like, again, using James Smith as an example, like, yeah, he was authentic to him and he was courageous enough to do that. But I think at some point, he also probably understood his customer, and he's like, doesn't have to be this hard. People don't want
pain point.
Like, if I'm,
doesn't have to be this hard. Pain point.
If I'm the everyday person, I'm not going to the, like, there was a stage where the Commando Steve thing was like that was, like The Biggest Loser, and there was all that going on, and that was like, that became the thing, and that was like the image of the PT.
Boot camp.
Yeah, but then it's like,
G.I. Joe looking dudes.
But eventually, like, that dies out, and it's like, the thing about James Smith is, no matter who you are on the planet, you enjoy listening to his things, because he's real and he's saying things that, it's just relatable and funny, and that's what his customer wants to hear.
It comes down to speaking their language, knowing their pain point and speaking their language. Like, I remember the Biggest Loser thing, and I'll go there. I'll say this. That doesn't work. Crash diets don't work. A lot of them are still overweight. I think they did a study on this, a lot of them all put the weight back on because it's not, you can't adopt it into your lifestyle. It's so drastic. It's never going to work. And that's a conversation for another day. But the businesses that do well, the coaches that do well in this space go, I see you, I hear you. Equilution, Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, James Smith, Mark Carroll, Lauren Simpson, all of them go, want to have a treat, eat it. Want to have your cake and eat it too?
Zig when everyone's zagging.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly. And it's like, it just comes down to using their language. If they can't, if your client or prospect, whatever industry or business you are in, cannot see themselves using your product 12 weeks from now, they won't be. It's very important to understand. If it's too hard to make a habit or a pattern, then you don't have a long-term sustainable business. You then have a shorter lifetime value of a client. So the goal is omnipresence. The goal is to be part of your client or prospects, your customer's daily routine. Put on a pair of shoes, go to the gym. Brush their teeth, follow a meal plan. Whatever it is, whatever you do, you want it to become a pattern. And if you can, other than say Panadol, which is like based on a need and a problem, if you can work your way into the everyday mind and pattern and ritual of your client, you have a gold mine of a business.
It's kind of like it's just the connection between like identity and your product. And then again, you said it, trying to just weasel your way into their daily, like being there's probably 3 or 4 things that we do on a daily basis that we actually mold 80% of our identity around.
Yeah.
And if you can weasel your way into that, like, I just feel like that's when you can really make it. And maybe marketing's just the continuous journey of optimization to get to that
storytelling.
Point. You know what I mean?
Marketing, you're right. It's like our career, your job, your relationships, your health, and maybe some hobbies. That's the 4 things that everyone does in a day. Maybe yours is reading or Netflix or going to yoga, going to work, whether or not you're commuting, whatever it is you're doing there, the relationship that you have with your friends or your partner, and then how you take care of your health. These are the daily habits of a human. Even the less healthy humans maybe think they need to go for a walk. Maybe you could sell them something as simple as that, like, I don't know, walking shoes. My point is, you want to find something that slots into that daily life. Like something like a scrub, for example, not done every day. How easy to forget. You buy it, you use it once, it's fun, you snap a photo. Then what is the repurchase? How long till repurchase and replenishment? And this is when marketing and strategy comes into play. If it's not a daily thing that you then notice when you're not doing it, how can I remind you that I exist? And this is something that you see now with product replenishments and membership sites and creating that recurring revenue. And you know who did it the best? Tontine. No, what's that pillow company that stamped the date that you need a new pillow?
I'm not sure.
There's a marketing case study. I think it's Tontine, and they realized it was a pillow company. People were not buying pillows for like 20 years, which is disgusting. So they started scare tactic advertising about ecosystems in your pillows, and it's actually marketing genius, stamping the date you need a new pillow. So when you change your pillow, you go, ugh, like there's an ecosystem in my pillow now, I need a new one. You go get a new one. How can you do something like that? If you've got a scrub and it's sitting in the back of someone's cupboard for 6 months and then they look at it and go, oh, I could do that again, they're never going to buy it again. You need to either encourage usage and repeat purchase. Otherwise, you know what I mean?
It's funny, like, we were chatting with the founder of Frank Body and she was kind of saying, like, the coffee scrub wasn't something that you could use regularly. Like, it's like that kind of thing that you like to do. Weekly, and you might do it with a friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Like whatever. But
it's a novelty.
But then she was like, that's why it was really important that we did really well at manufacturing growth from a brand perspective there. But then it was the next move for them to scale was like, okay, we actually need to start making products that we can like almost cross-sell and create another product that is a part of that regular routine, like a moisturizer or something like that. And
companion selling.
And I think it talks, like a lot of the conversation is like, initially you just need to find the white space and capture the corner of the market, but then you can really nestle in and as your brand grows, you can start to offer the different products.
Well, my advice there is like, invest in proximity. What do you do? What are you known for? What is the next best thing? For example, shampoo and conditioner. Companion selling. Nobody no girl, would ever go and buy shampoo and not conditioner.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. It's like that is also a storytelling success, right? You want companion selling. If you are brushing your teeth, you want floss. If you got toothbrush, you got toothpaste, tooth floss, mouthwash. You know, like invest in proximity. What do you do? What are you known for? What is the next thing? What does your client do or customer do before and after they do you, and can you diversify into that area?
So true. So true. The next part of the podcast is Quickfire.
Okay.
So, as I said before, and I always have to preface this, but it's not, don't feel like you've got a
Full
limit.
words.
Yeah, like you've got a time limit. But yeah, just really broad questions.
Okay. I'm nervous.
No, you're right. Everybody gets nervous with Quickfire. They're like, so one piece of advice for your younger self.
Stop at nothing. Like, if I could go back to my 25-year-old self, it's just that the stresses that you have and the way that you're feeling about opportunity, career changes, where you want to go in life. It's like you have these big goals, but you don't know how to get there. Don't worry. Your goals will change. I used to want to have this great job and be a corporate career woman. Now I have 4 companies. I never thought that would happen, but I'm happy. I'm happier. It's just keep going, keep moving in that direction, and pivotal conversations, things happen that change the trajectory of your life. Let them in, just stop at nothing, keep working. Just keep chipping away at wherever you want to go. And maybe you don't even know it, you can't see it, but like your trajectory will change. Where you're going can change. But if you've just got this can-do worker mentality and you're getting it done, you'll get there.
Yeah,
you'll get there.
I think it's like one of the toughest things to do in life, especially when you're starting out, is take opportunities because it's so scary. But the thing you actually learn is that the more opportunities that I take, the more that actually come to me. And I think
success creates success.
That's why, the change, you're right. Like, I can't tell you a month that goes by where I have the same goal, because it's like a new opportunity arises and then I'm like, oh, that gives me an idea, or there's like, what could potentially happen.
Well,
and
you can only think things and goals as big as your current headspace, and until a new idea is planted in your head, then maybe you won't be able to think of that next big thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so true. It's so true. So what advice would you give to someone who's thinking about starting a business?
Good question. Do your research. Do your research on who you are helping and what is the problem you're solving. Don't come to me with this great big idea if you don't know whose problem you're solving. Start with the customer. Who are you helping? Whose problem are you solving? Does anyone else offer this solution, and how? I like spreadsheets. Who else does what I think I can do or what I want to do? How are they doing it? How much are they charging? What are the key call outs and things that they're saying? Do your research.
So
and
true.
Stop at nothing.
It's so true. Like you often have ideas and like, oh, that would be great. And then, when you've been in business for a while, you start to understand, okay, I need to go research this. I had a friend call me maybe around Christmas, and he's like, oh, I've got the best idea. We're going to be billionaires. That's what he said. And he's like, what if, he's like, and he went to the park and he's seen all these dogs running around. He's like, I could look after those dogs. He's like, I'd love to look after those dogs. What if there was an Airbnb for dog sitting? And I'm like, brother, it's been done. Yeah. Like someone's already done
Great
that.
idea. Yeah. That dude's a billionaire.
Yeah, exactly, right?
I've got a really good idea. It's a search engine.
Yeah, exactly. But it's that kind of premise.
Yeah,
is like,
exactly.
The first thing is always to go do your research.
Yeah.
All right, biggest watch this space for 2022.
I know that this has been said before, but TikTok. TikTok, you can't ignore it. You know what? I was ignoring it because I don't know how to use it, and it's hard. And then my friend, who is 30, said to me she spends as much time on TikTok as Instagram, which I was like, okay, I'm listening. It's not just for millennials. It's not just for Gen Z's 18-year-old eco-conscious people.
It was.
It was.
But
It's not just a dancing platform. Yeah. TikTok, I think, is definitely going to be a watch this space. And Instagram, the way that they're innovating, the algorithm changes, the way that people are growing and then just being quickly cut down. When I say watch this space with Instagram, what I mean is learn to adapt because it's going to change. They are a business and they are going to continue to change it so that they can clip as much of that ticket that you have as possible. So be ready to adapt on Instagram and make sure that you have a presence on TikTok. And just be reminded of what I said before. You don't have a business if you only have an Instagram account. It's not a business. It's an Instagram platform.
Very true. Very true. Most important trait that a founder must have for success, and why?
The willingness to learn, humility, you know. He who knows it all knows nothing. I've been around really smart people who can't be told. They can't learn. They have egos, and I think the most important trait is there's this African concept. I was just in South Africa. It's called Ubuntu, and there's also a documentary on Netflix. A coach references this for the NBA, and it basically says we have a lot to learn from each other and other people. No one is above you. No one is beneath you. As a society, I can learn from you. I can learn from my staff, whether it's something like a pattern, a trait, a thought, or an idea. You have to have a willingness to learn. You have to continue to learn as an expert. You have to continue to stay current and update your skill set. So always be learning from an educational space, but also learning from people, your customers, the people who have done things that you want to do. Having these conversations and going in there, listening, not waiting to talk, and taking things away, thinking, how can I grow from this? How can I do something differently based on what I've heard? I think that great leaders are learners. They learn, they flex, they adapt based on what they've learned. They're not set in their ways. And if you have a business and your methods are yours and you're the best and you're never going to change, like, you're only going to get what you've always gotten. What got you here won't get you there.
It's essential for growth as well, right? Like, you very quickly learn that it's kind of what we were saying before. Like, a great leader listens and can connect with their people because they can learn how to get the best out of them. And you know, with what you're saying, if you aren't humble and you don't have humility and you're not willing to listen and learn from those around you, you will inevitably always be the bottleneck in your business.
Exactly.
So it's very true.
Exactly.
Okay, so the last question is more around productivity.
Okay.
So we're on a journey to try to create the ultimate diary for a founder. And I guess one of the biggest problems that I have with like all the diaries.
Schedule?
Yeah, a bit of everything, right? So it's not necessarily closed out to a schedule, but you know how like there's some journals and it's like a self-help journal, and then there's some diaries and it's got like setting your goals out and these kind of things. I want to get a bit of a gauge of like how you manage yourself from a productivity standpoint, and also like, is there something missing in a diary that you wish there was? And if not, what's the most important thing that should be in a founder's diary?
I think...
Because you're a spreadsheet person, right? So you're like managing every second or every single element.
Yeah, I definitely think, and this might not be the answer you're expecting, your morning routine. Like, I wake up, I meditate, I visualize the day ahead of me. I visualize how my day is going to pan out, what I want to attract, what I want to achieve, what I want to have done, how I want to do it, how I want to feel, the opportunities for that day and what comes ahead. I journal. And I go train and I move my body and I start my day like ready to freaking go, you know, and that stillness, the connection to the present moment, the connection to why I'm doing this, why I'm here, my purpose, allows me to make better decisions and allows me to be more self-aware. So if I am procrastinating or if things aren't, I think it's always important to ask yourself, is this necessary with time management? So in terms of the schedule, morning, stillness, connection to your why, let things come to you, those ideas, those solutions, and maybe revisit that at lunch, even if it's just 5 minutes. Because if you are connected to why you are here, and if you are aware and you have the ability to let these thoughts in, ideas, solutions, ask yourself, is this necessary? Is this the best use of my skill set? Do I really need to be doing this? You are going to be more productive. You are going to focus on the income producing activity. You are going to have a higher return on investment.
It's such an interesting one, I feel like, because I feel like I understand what you're saying and I think it's so important, but I also think it gets lost in the noise. Like, I think morning routine, for me, the routine needs to be, and you mentioned it, is like assess what needs your time and do what is in best for you. Like, for a long time there, I wasn't connected to myself. So then my morning routine was actually centered around doing that.
Yeah.
Now it's less time intensive to, like meditation was something that I did massively back in the day, and it helped me so much. I probably owe my life to it because it really did change things for me. But now it's not necessarily a daily thing. It's like I just do it 2 or 3 times a week.
Becomes a habit,
But there's still an element there, and what I use it for, right? So like for me now, it's like my mornings is just spending time by myself.
Yeah. And
like you said, for me, it's more about reassessing why I'm doing things and how I'm going to spend the day. I'm an early riser. I like to wake up at 4 a.m. because no one else is going to talk to me, and I get that alone time. But what my morning routine used to be and what it is now is totally different, but it's based on the needs that I have. Whereas I feel it can be very easy to get caught up in what everybody else is doing with their morning routine because we want to feel better, right?
I think it's important not to just tick the boxes. Don't be like, I should be meditating. Like, I should be journaling. Like, you need to be connected to what you're doing. You need to do what feels good. And if it's not coming, if you're doing it for the sake of doing it, you're not doing it. That's not how that works.
It's different, isn't it?
And I understand that. Like, I was like, I should be meditating, so I'm going to meditate. Meditating makes productive people more productive. Books I've read say the greatest leaders of our time meditate. I'm going to meditate. And I sit there, and all I think about is how hard meditating is. It's not very meditative. So stop trying to fit a square peg through a round hole. And then I learned about walking meditation. I would go for a walk, and sometimes it doesn't have to be meditation. It's moments of stillness, but it's like, how you do it, what you do, whatever. Connect to why you're here. I think your purpose and your connection to why you're doing what you're doing is so important to be a happy human. Happy people who are connected to why they're doing what they're doing, I believe, are more productive. And I think like meditation and balance is like, it's like, is this the new perfection? Like, am I not a good person if I'm not meditating and journaling and eating freaking organic food and drinking alkaline water? Like, that's like where the world has gone. And it's like, you can remove the pressure. If it doesn't feel good, just lie there and think about your thoughts. That's meditation.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, I think the daily routine thing is really important, but it's like it's not like everyone's daily routine is the same, or there's certain things that everybody needs to do. It's just, what do you need to do?
Yeah.
And how do you need to spend your time, and what's going to get you the best result for where you're at? Like, in times where I don't feel good, that's where a lot of this stuff comes in. But then if I'm feeling great, like you said, like meditation can come in many different ways, planning, task management, like all this stuff can be done in different ways. And I feel like I agree on the routine. I just feel like it gets lost in the weeds, especially with the gram and the pressure that comes with it, if that makes sense. Like, you got to do what works for you and not just what you think everybody else is doing and what's the social norm, if that makes sense. Because I feel like that holds a lot of people back. Like, for me now, it's like getting my tasks done from like 5 a.m. till 7 a.m. is the best thing, because guess what? As soon as it hits 7:30, meetings, people are pulling me in this direction. I've got to have this conversation. And it's like, previously my morning routine was meditate, walk, exercise, this, but now I've just moved that stuff into a different area and my routine's different. So I think that's like something I've noticed is like, but I felt bad for doing that at the start, like it was like, oh my God, like I should be doing these things in the morning and so on. But I guess that's probably something I've changed my mind on a little bit.
Yeah. It's important. Like, you're not married to your schedule.
100%. Especially as a business owner, like if your business needs something from you, like that's the thing I've found is like, if I don't get the things I need to get done before 7:30, they won't get done.
Exactly. Eat that frog. Do the hardest task first.
100%. Awesome. I want to say a massive thank you to you. We're going to wrap it up. That was amazing.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
It was a great conversation. I think it was good to kind of, I think one thing that I noticed is like the depth that we can kind of go to around talking about brand, marketing, scale. For someone who's starting a business, like most of the time you start it either alone or with maybe one other person.
Yep.
And then the conversation was really centered around how do we go from there.
Yeah.
0 to 1 type thing. So that was amazing. What I might get you to do is tell people where they can find you, a lot of your businesses and so on.
For sure. So my name is Jenna Davies, and Jade and I are launching Big Uppetite. We have not officially launched yet, but you can find me at jennadaviesmarketing.com and Jenna Ann on Instagram. That's JENNANNE. You can reach out, and Jade and I are going to be launching biguppetite.com in June. So very exciting.
So exciting.
Taking on new clients. We do have some foundation client spaces left, and also Butter Up Clothing. So anyone who wants to get amongst some really comfy, high quality, everyday core clothing, Butter Up Co.
Awesome. Get on it. I'm
Thank
really
you.
excited to see what you and Jade do as well.
Yes.
I'm pumped.
Watch this space.
Thank you very much for coming on. John, thanks for putting this together, my man. And to everybody who listened, once again, support's been crazy. The comments, the likes, the shares, all of it makes such a big difference. You don't understand how much it helps. So a massive thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the episode.
Thanks, guys.
Golden, baby girl, we're golden.